Okay. This is the video for 2.1 notes. We'll be discussing inequalities and how to write our inequalities in interval notation, as well as to draw them on a number line. This should be a review for those of you guys that had 8th grade math last year. So, first thing that we want to discuss is going to be our inequalities here. Okay, so our inequalities can either be x is greater than or equal to, less than, or less than or equal to. Okay, based on the information that we have, we're able to tell what our circle is going to look like, which direction our arrow is going to go, how our interval will be, and what the meaning of them is. Okay, so the easiest way to learn how to do this is just by doing it on A. So, just as a review from last year, we would have had, your teacher would have had you first identify what the number is that is going to be greater than x, which is -4. We put a circle on -4, okay? Now, if we look at our notes, it tells us that in order for it to be a filled circle, it has to have an equal sign under it, or filled here, okay? These are empty, just like this one, so we're going to leave it as an empty circle as well. Now, x is less than -4. We look at the inequality, and you can see it points left, so we are also going to shade our line towards the left-hand side. Okay? Now, how are we going to then write, and this is how you guys are going to do the number line. To do the interval, or interval notation, okay, we are just going to be describing everything that this line that we have drawn touches. Okay? The interval notation for this problem is going to be -∞ to -4, okay, with parentheses on each side of them. Now, where's this -∞ coming from, you might be asking? As you guys can see here, the infinities are going further and further left, and they're going to go forever in this direction. So, it would only make sense then that they would eventually reach -∞ on this side, or +∞ on the right side. So what I have all of my students do, at least for this first couple of sections, just to get used to it, is to put -∞ and infinity on each side of your endpoints, of your end of your lines. Okay? Then all you want to do is put parentheses around the end and where your numbers end, or at least what your line is. Okay? And then you can just bring it down into your interval notation. Parenthesis, -∞, -4, and then your parenthesis as well. Okay? And that's just going to be your answer for this problem. All right? Now, what I hope you guys notice here is going to be on B. Okay? What side of A, on A at least, what side do you guys see the variable on? On the left side. Here it's on the right. Now, it's always important to make sure that your variable is going to be on the left side of your number, okay? So what I want us to do on B here, kind of cross it, well, actually, no. Let's rewrite it. We're going to say that x, and then you can kind of see that the point of our inequality is going to point right at x, okay? It's going to face that same direction when we turn it around. Okay, so we should have x is less than or equal to 5 written down. All right? Now, why is it important for our variable to be on the left-hand side? Well, if we kept it like our original one here, if we kept it like, like 5 is greater than or equal to x, okay, we would have been going in the right direction, when in reality, the correct way is to go to the left, okay? So it's always important to make sure that you're going towards the left-hand side of this equation. All right? So you circle 5, like we did last time. It's going towards the left-hand side, so we're going to shade towards the left. Okay? Now, the difference with this one is the circle is going to be filled at 5. Why is that? Well, take a look here. What does the inequality look like for this problem? x is less than or equal to 5. Less than or equal to 5 is this one, and as you can see, the circle is going to be filled. The easiest way to remember this is to know that the line underneath the inequality tells us whether or not it's filled. If it has a line underneath, it's going to be filled. If it has no line underneath, it's going to be open. Now, just like last time, we're going to make sure our infinities are going to be written at the end of our lines, negative infinity, infinity, okay? We want to throw a parenthesis around this negative infinity for our interval notation. I'm just going to put IN so you guys know what it looks like, okay? We're going to say parentheses, negative infinity, and then we are going to put 5 here. Now the difference here, just like we had an open circle on the last one and it was a parentheses, we're going to have something different with the closed circle. It's going to be what we call a bracket, okay? And it's bracketed for one reason. It's bracketed because of this filled circle right there, okay? Having a filled circle is telling us that our line is actually going to be equal to 5. So we need to set some hard boundary saying it's not going to go further than 5 here, okay? So whenever you have a filled dot, you want to make sure that you bracket it. And as you can see, our interval notation is just our number line, parenthesis, negative infinity is going to go right there, 5 is going to go right there, and then our bracket is going to go right there, okay? And our answer ends up being negative infinity to 5 with the parenthesis and a bracket, okay? Okay, let's move it a little bit faster. I'm going to take care of this. Say x is greater than or equal to negative 2. The mouth is open towards x in our original. It's going to be open as well here. Okay, go to negative 2. You're going to put a circle. You're filling it because the line underneath it is present, meaning it's equal to. And we're shading towards our right-hand side. Maybe I'll change the color, then make it a little bit brighter. Okay. Our interval notation, since it is a filled dot, we're going to make it a bracket. Here's an infinity on this end. We're going to throw a parenthesis on it. Our interval notation for this one is going to be bracket, negative 2, comma, infinity. D, as you can see, our variable is on the left-hand side. Okay. So we put a circle on 1. We're going towards the right-hand side, the way that the inequality is pointing. Okay, infinity should be on this side. Open circle means a parenthesis. And as always, infinity has a parenthesis on it as well. So we write our interval notation, 1, comma, infinity. Okay? All right. Now, what is it asking us to do on here on number 2, or example 2? Write the inequality represented by the graph in interval notation. Okay. So first, I always like to actually just do both. So let's have our inequality written out to begin with. We're going to start with x. The inequality is going towards the right-hand side, so we're going to say greater than. As you can see, it's a filled dot on that side. So we're going to put a line underneath it and say 2. So x is greater than or equal to 2. Now on your number line, if it's a filled circle, it means a bracket. And as always, the end of our line is going to be infinity with a parenthesis. So our interval notation in this case is going to be bracket 2, comma, infinity. Not a double zero, by the way. I just hate drawing that infinity the other way. Okay, moving on. We're at negative 1. X looks like it's going towards the right-hand side here. Greater than 1. As you can see, it does not have a line underneath it because the dot is not filled. Okay, it's an open circle. X is greater than 1. So an open circle means a parenthesis. Over here it's going towards the right, so we're going to positive infinity. Our interval notation is set at negative 1, comma, infinity. Okay? Arrow is going towards the left, or the inequality is going towards the left. We're going to say x is less than, in this case, 1. That's our first answer. Our interval notation, we have a negative infinity on this end and a positive infinity on this end, but the arrow is going towards this negative infinity. So we're going to bracket, we're going to put a parenthesis there, open circle, parenthesis. Okay, bring them down, parenthesis, negative infinity, comma, 1, parenthesis. It is very, very important you guys make sure to write your inequality, or not your inequalities, your interval notation in the way that they look on a number line. Negative infinity is going to be the first number for you on C every time. If you put 1 in front of negative infinity, your teacher will mark you wrong. Knowing what is smaller is always important in terms of doing your math, okay? So, next one. We have 2 is our number going towards the left-hand side. Going towards the left-hand side, we're going to set as x is less than or equal to, because it's a filled circle, filled dot here, right? And then for our interval notation, we have negative infinity on this end with a parenthesis, and then a bracket because it's a filled circle, right? So our interval notation is going to be negative infinity, comma, 2, bracket. I'm just boxing my answers there because those are what they are. All right. Okay, that is it for 2.1. All right, kind of zoom it out for you guys. If you need to write anything down here, just pause the video, okay? And as always, if you have any questions, please ask your teacher.